Smugglings, what is happening? This is going to be the review for Last of Us Season 2, Episode 7. So this is the final episode of the season, so it better be a goddamn good one. This is the finale of the season. And we start off the episode where we believe that Dina is giving birth to a baby. But it actually looks like the Seraphite arrow is being pulled out of her by Jesse, as she got wounded 2 episodes prior. And Ellie also returns after her encounter with Nora, and this is a follow-on from the events that happened 2 episodes ago, and it took me a little bit to remember because we've had an episode between these events where we had mostly flashbacks, so it's interesting to see that because I was trying to remember what actually happened. And Ellie tells Dina what happened at the hospital. She expresses her regret at having to hurt Nora in the way that she did, and she reveals to Dina why the WLF killed Joel, and Dina believes that they should return to Jackson. And I love the line that Dina says here, where she said that we should just go back to Jackson because she doesn't want to deal with all the shit that Ellie just laid out for her. And I'd be the same way, quite honestly, because there's a lot to take in. And then we get to Seattle Day 3, and Ellie and Jesse go to rendezvous with Tommy, and Jesse discusses Dina with Ellie, and Ellie and Jesse talk about the fact that Dina is pregnant and she's in a relationship with Ellie now, and obviously Jesse is not a big fan of that. And we also see in Seattle the paintings of the Prophet, but it's depicting different people, so we see different people being depicted as a prophet. It seems like there are multiple prophets in the Seraphites, which is interesting. And we run into a Seraphite getting attacked by WLF members in the streets of Seattle, and the Seraphites seem to be more sympathetic in the show. We talked about that a little bit because they are trying to shine a better light on the Seraphites, and they're not the brutal savages that they are depicted as in the game, because they are quite brutal in the game, and they're brutal in the show as well, but we don't really get to see that sympathetic side of them. They are just religious extremists in the game, but they're definitely more sympathetic here, which is nice to see. And we go to the WLF base where Isaac is revealing that Abby and her crew are missing. So he reveals to the audience that Abby and the crew are missing, and we don't know where they are at the minute. So it's interesting to see that. He's discussing it with one of his officers that we saw in the previous episode, and they talk about the oncoming battle that is going to take place and the harsh weather conditions, the perfect storm of a hellscape, it seems like, because there's a bad storm coming and there's also a big battle coming. So that is the case with that. And then Ellie and Jesse are making their way to Tommy, and they enter the library where they're supposed to meet him, but he's not there. And this is a section that's in the game, and I loved how accurate it was to the game, because it looked so similar to what we saw on the streets of Seattle in Last of Us Part 2, and that was a really nice touch because they really took a lot of inspiration from the actual set of the game, which is awesome to see. And Ellie and Jesse separate on bad terms here, as Elliot wants to kill Abby and Jesse wants to meet with Tommy, and they have a big disagreement about that, and they go their separate ways, which is very sad to see, obviously, but that is the case with that. And then Ellie steals a boat at the docks and tries to get to the Ferris wheel that she sees, which is the Seattle Aquarium, but the waves direct her towards the Seraphite Island, which is very bad news. So she goes towards the Seraphite Island. I liked this change quite a bit, actually. I loved that she saw a glimpse of the battle that took place between the wolves and the Seraphites. I thought that was really cool. She gets directed for a second where she gets strung up by the Seraphites, and due to the battle, the Seraphites leave her and let her go, and then she goes back to the Ferris wheel. I liked that she had a little glimpse of the battle. It was a really nice touch, I thought. So that is very cool, and I love the way this episode is depicted, because it does demonstrate a lot of doom in the world, and there is that incoming sense of dread that is looming in the air, and I really love the way they showed that in this episode. And there's a lot of visual effects in this episode as well, particularly in terms of the waves and the cityscape that we see. I love the visual effects, they look really good here, and there's quite a few of them in this particular episode. And it's more noticeable because I've not seen this many visual effects in one single episode, so I thought that was very nice to see. And Ellie gets to the aquarium, she meets Mel and Owen here, and uses Joel's technique, which I really loved, where he asks one person to point a location on the map and then asks the other person to point the exact same location so that they match up. And I really love that because that is something that Joel does quite a lot in the game and the series as well. So I love that Ellie is adopting that technique. So that was really nice. And then Ellie kills Owen when he tries to go for his gun and shoot her, but she inadvertently kills Mel as well. And this is a very devastating scene where Mel wants to get her baby out, and she's directing Ellie to get the baby out, to make an incision to get it out, and Ellie is panicking, she doesn't know what to do. It's a really sad scene, and I will say it's more tastefully done in the show. It's brutal the way it's done in the game, and Ellie does express regret, and she obviously doesn't know that Mel is pregnant. She only knows when she opens the jacket and she hears Owen utter words that make her believe that Mel is pregnant. But it's done in a better way here because it is very savage in the game. It's done in quite a harsh way, but that is what The Last of Us Part 2 is, so that is the case with that. And then we get her being rescued by Tommy and Jesse, and then we go back to the theatre, and it plays out almost exactly as it does in the game, which I really liked. And we see that Tommy gets wounded, we hear it in the distance, and then Jesse gets killed unceremoniously in the head. And it's so quick, it's as it is in the game, where he just gets popped so quickly. There's no ceremony for him, there's nothing to demonstrate there'll be a big fanfare for when he dies, because he just dies instantly, and that's how it would be in real life. And I love the way they showed that. He obviously didn't love that Jesse got killed, because I liked him as a character quite a lot, but it is quite sad to see, and done unceremoniously as it is in the game. And that's what happens there. And then Abby tells Ellie how she wasted her opportunity to lead a normal life, and she should have just left well enough alone and not come after the LLF members. And then we see that Abby is pointing her gun at Ellie, and then we hear a shot, and then we fade to black, and then we go to the LLF stadium, and we go to the stadium where we see Abby and Manny, and they're getting up and they're about to go on their job. And we see the stadium, we zoom out, and then we see that this is Seattle day one. So this is going to be the story from Abby's perspective, and I believe that's what they're going to do in Season 3. And I'm going to speak about the spoilers of the game here, so if you haven't played the game, what the hell are you doing, guys? Go play one of the greatest games of all time, and go play Last of Us Part 2. And we see the story from Abby's perspective, obviously, and I believe that Season 4 will probably be the Santa Barbara section, I'd imagine. So we'll see both sides of the story, and then we'll see them meeting each other at Santa Barbara as they do in the game, is what I assume. They'll probably change some things here and there, but that is what I largely think this run of seasons will be, and it'll be really cool to see that. And I really love this episode. This was probably my favourite episode of the season, and I really enjoyed the parallels to the game and the way that they visually represented moments from the game. And the best thing about this episode, no infected, and it works so well. And I don't mind the infected. I've got no issue with the infected at all, but I don't think they're essential to the show at all. They're not essential to the story at all. They really don't mean much in the grand scheme of things within the story. They are just an obstacle for the characters to overcome. So I like the confidence of not showing these iconic creatures, because they are very iconic and they're associated with the show, but they didn't feel the need to rely on it here. So I really appreciate that. And I'm just going to say that I really love Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin as creators and writers. I think they're super talented, and I've been a big fan of Neil Druckmann for a long time. Obviously did the Uncharted games and Last of Us and working at Naughty Dog, and I've always been a big fan of his work. And I may seem as though I've not been the biggest fan of this season, and there were some episodes that I wasn't the biggest fan of. I didn't like the changes that were made, but that is personal preference. We've all got different preferences for what we see in a adaptation of something that we really love. And I really love Last of Us, and I've loved it for over 10 years, and it's been something that's been very important to me. But I think they really nailed it on this final episode, quite honestly. I think they did an amazing job, and this is a tricky game to adapt, quite honestly. It's not the easiest game to adapt. It's very complex, and it's obviously made for the format of a video game, and it's much more complicated and a much more ambitious story, and a much better story than the original Last of Us, quite honestly. And I truly believe that this is a better story in Last of Us Part 2, but a lot of people love the original game more, but I love Last of Us Part 2 more, but I still love the original game. But that's the case with that. I think they've done a great job with this final episode. I can't wait to see Season 3. What did you think of the episode, Smugglings? What did you think of the season in general? And I really appreciate you watching Smugglings. This is the end of this particular run. I'm sorry guys, I know, you're going to miss it, but that is the end of this run of the season, and we'll come back for Season 3, but I'll have a lot more videos to come very soon. So please like, comment and subscribe if you are interested in Smugglings, and I really appreciate you watching. So you guys take care, and I will see you soon.